Welcome, everyone. I am Sarah Weller. I'm the product manager here at Londonate and the moderator for this call. The other smiling faces you see here are Vivian Chu, the founder and CEO of Londonate, and Lynette Pang, the COO here at Londonate. Now, if you are new to Londonate, we are so happy to have you. If you are a current investor, we thank you for your continued support. We couldn't do this without you all. Londonate connects investors with nonprofits that have big ideas. Together, we can make a real impact on projects that shape communities for the better. Since its inception in 2018, Londonate has helped to make available over 85 million in financing to approximately 70 nonprofit organizations. Investment capital comes from accredited investors and also our institutional partners. Londonate is unique in that we specialize in meeting the financing needs of nonprofit organizations. Londonate's risk rating system, gold, silver, and bronze, is designed to guide investors in understanding the credit quality of each investment. The definitions for each of these risk ratings can be found on our website. And today we are going to be presenting 3 silver-rated loan opportunities. Apologies. You'll hear from the leadership teams of these nonprofits serving in the cause areas of affordable housing, education, and global empowerment. In total, we are raising $2.3 million for these 3 projects. Each presentation will be approximately 15 minutes with time for Q&A at the end of each presentation. So let's make this interactive, and please use the Q&A box to submit questions throughout the presentations, and we will make sure that all of your questions get answered. Let me just see if there's any questions. I think they're good. Okay, without further ado, let's get started. So it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Amy Kernan, the Executive Director at Irvine International Academy, a public charter school located in Irvine, California. They're seeking financing for working capital to bridge to government funding that will be granted in spring 2025. Welcome, Dr. Kernan. Please tell us about yourself and your school.
Well, good morning. Thank you so much for having me here today. So yes, I'm Dr. Kernan, and I'm here from Irvine International Academy. We are a Mandarin dual immersion charter school in Irvine. We have about 530 students in grades transitional kindergarten through 8th grade. So we go all the way through middle school. And we're currently in our 4th year, and we actually just were able to release a few weeks ago that in our 4th year, we have the highest test scores in Orange County, California. So our students are achieving incredible success academically while spending 50% of their day doing all of their different subjects in Mandarin and 50% of their day doing their different subjects in English. We do have a pretty diverse school, especially here in Southern California. About 25% of our students are English learners, some coming in speaking Mandarin, but we also have students who come in speaking a variety of other languages, including Russian, Spanish. So we do have quite a few students who are learning multiple languages at the same time. We have about 30% of our students that are socioeconomically disadvantaged. And then we have a wide range of different demographics. So that's a little bit about our school, but we offer a lot of instruction in also STEAM, so science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. So not only are students learning in both English and Mandarin, but we also have a very STEAM-focused curriculum as well.
Oh, that's great. Can you tell us a little bit about how the government funding works and
Mhm.
how this loan will help your program?
So schools in California are funded kind of in a bit of a strange way. Our school starts in August, but about 70% of our funding doesn't come in until between March and June of the next spring. So all of our students come in August ready to learn. We have to pay staff, pay for materials, but then we get very little funding until the spring. So right now we are looking to get some working capital to make it through until we receive all of our disbursements from the state. Since we're only in our fourth year, we haven't had time like a big California school district to build up a large amount of reserves, and so we're trying to take more of a lower interest or get a short-term lower interest loan so that we can have that working capital to cover us through until we get our disbursements from the spring. We've also significantly increased our student enrollment over the last 2 years. Each of the last 2 years, we've increased our enrollment by about 140 students. So that will result in a lot more revenue in the spring, but it also results in some additional costs between now and then. So we're hoping to get this working capital so that we can fund things like salaries, our different programs, and really continue to provide the best possible learning experience for our students and continue to provide them with really great enrichment and academic programs.
Now, is there a reason for this increase in the enrollment over the recent years?
So I think there's a variety of different reasons. So one, like I said, we're very academically high achieving. Our students, even over the last couple of years, have really performed very well on our state testing. And then again, kind of the culmination this year of having the top scores in Orange County. Although there are a lot of Spanish dual immersion schools in the area, there aren't a lot of Mandarin dual immersion schools. And, Mandarin is a language that is really at the forefront and a great language for students to learn. We do have or quite a significant Chinese population in the area. And so I think just having a really quality program that is providing something that is unique to our area, but really something that our community is looking for, has definitely provided the means for us to have a lot of interest in our school and continue to keep growing.
That's great. Could you just share a little bit more around how the Mandarin immersion programs work?
Yeah, so our students come in, some not knowing any Mandarin, some having some background in Mandarin. And when they come in, starting in transitional kindergarten, they have two different teachers each day. So they'll spend half of their day learning all of their coursework in English. So doing science, math, social studies, and then their English language arts. And then they'll actually switch and have a Mandarin speaking teacher. And for the second half of the day, all of their instruction is in Mandarin. And so they'll be getting the same math and science and social studies concepts, but taught in Mandarin. And then they'll have their Mandarin language instruction as well. And so they're really able to provide those connections for all of their different concepts that they're learning in two different languages. So it really helps to build their critical thinking skills, their problem solving skills, as well as bridging the connections and building up their linguistic skills in both languages.
This is such a unique type of programming. Are there other schools that are like this in the area? Like, was this modeled after anything?
So there are some other schools in there are quite a few dual immersion schools, but like I said, most of them are Spanish English dual immersion, especially, we are in Southern California. And so, the model is not completely unique, but what makes us a little bit different is that there aren't very many Mandarin dual immersion schools. So, having that ability to provide the instruction in Mandarin makes us a little bit unique, but the model is similar to what you would see in a Spanish dual immersion school.
Right. So I'm going to go into the Q&A. It does look like there are a few questions here. So without this bridge funding that you're seeking to bridge needs, what are your alternatives if this funding need is not met?
So some of the things, as a nonprofit, sure, a lot of people on the call know it's tough to get a regular bank loan, especially as a public school. And so, looking at different ways to get funding, a lot of them are very expensive. And we don't want to spend as much money on we don't want to spend so much money on interest. We'd rather spend it on our students. And we also don't want to take such a long-term loan so that we are in debt for a long time. And so that's why this model would really help us to be able to bridge that gap and not spend quite so much money on interest charges, on really, really high interest charges for some of the different models that are available for nonprofits.
Great. And let's see, we have a few others in here. So Orange County is a culturally diverse community and perceived as fairly well off. Does this pose challenges for you in raising funds? Do you do fundraising in your community?
So we do quite a bit of fundraising in our community. It is, it's always tough to get a ton of money. We do have a pretty significant portion of our students that are also classified as socioeconomically disadvantaged. So that we want to be able to make sure that we're able to provide all of our different programs, activities for all of our students, and being able to completely fundraise enough to bridge that gap is somewhat has proven to be a little bit difficult. But we do have great families that are willing to give. I think some of them that are actually on the call today. But again, just looking for another or other creative ways to be able to do it without having to take, really expensive financing.
That makes complete sense. It sounds wonderful what you guys are doing over there with this school. My last question, just for my own personal knowledge, does everybody learn Mandarin? Like, do you learn Mandarin as well?
Walking around this school, it's hard not to start, picking up on Mandarin, especially walking into some classes where you'll see kindergartners who, have only been here for less than a year speaking Mandarin, who, have moved here from Russia just last year, and they're learning English and Mandarin at the same time. So it's just it's amazing to walk around the classrooms and see that. And like I said, I think, when you're here, you're definitely going to learn at least some Mandarin, even if you don't try.
Yeah, right. I love that. That's amazing. Is there any final thoughts or any takeaways that you would like to share with the investors before we go?
We would love any support. And if you're in the area, we always love to take people around and show them all the amazing things that we're doing here. It's always better to hear and see from the kids than from me. No one really wants to listen to me. The kids are way better. So we would love any support and to bring people into our community and really show off what our students and our staff is doing.
That's amazing. Well, if I'm in the area, I definitely will stop by. So thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much for your
you.
time. It was great to hear from you today.
Thank you all.
All right. Thank you. Bye, Dr. Kernan. Okay. Next up is, let me just see if we have any. Okay, here we go. So the next NPO up is, it's my pleasure to introduce Jessica Clemente, the president and CEO at We Stay, Nos Quedamos, Inc., headquartered in the Bronx, New York. They have received grant awards that fully fund the capital projects at their affordable housing community. However, since the grants are based on reimbursements, they are seeking bridge financing. Welcome, Jessica. Please tell us about yourself and your organization.
Sure. I am the proud executive here at Nos Quedamos for the past 15 years. I have been working diligently, I would say, for the past 8 years on these two specific capital projects. But let me talk to you a little bit more about who we are as an organization, and then I could go into our application. So our organization is a community development corp. 30-year, well, now we're at 32 years in operation, and really committed and have been committed to the Melrose community's revitalization. We were the authors of the revitalization renewal plan here in Melrose, and as a result, that led to the development of affordable housing, affordable home ownership, open space, commercial space, and an economic development investment of over $500 million since the plan was adopted into city charter. And we are co-owners of such housing. We have 21 buildings in our portfolio. We are advocates and really look to and work towards creating conditions that maintain the health and culture of our community. We do that in a collective and inclusionary process with our community. And so our vision is one of acceptance and respect, where we stay, we welcome, we build, and collectively as a unified community look towards opportunities to bring and build self-determination and collective ownership, right? And so what does that mean to us? That led to us submitting two applications to a competition in 2019. The New York State Governor's Office invests $10 million for community development projects, capital projects, where the South Bronx was selected, and we were a part of the membership that was considered for our project. We submitted two projects. One to bring broadband connectivity into 4 of our buildings, because we understand that the digital divide in the South Bronx is very real. And we want to be able to create opportunities and amenities that we can offer our residents that doesn't put undue burden on them. That was the first project. The second project was around creating and building resiliency hubs. We have been impacted by Hurricane Sandy, Storm Ida, right? The climate justice conditions in the South Bronx as an environmental justice community is real and has been for over 30 plus years, right? I mean, this is an existing problem that we have. And so our community is not one to just sit back and wait for when. It's really about how can we be proactive. We know that is going to come. Are we prepared for when it does? And so the resiliency hubs are our community response to how do we close the gap on the first 72 hours of a crisis? What is our emergency communications plan? How do we look to and identify our sensitive populations in the buildings? These resiliency hubs offer the opportunity for us to have solar, broadband connectivity, and rainwater harvest systems as an infrastructure base, so that we are off the grid and can use that as a mode to triage crises as they arise. In total, those two projects equal $1.1 million. As you are all aware, right, capital projects are from reimbursements. And those two projects are taking place right now simultaneously. So the cash flow crunch for our organization is significant. And so the reimbursements can't come fast enough. Unfortunately, the state does not move in the same pace or the track as our work does on the ground. And so we have some gaps in time that we need to make sure that the organization is made whole until those reimbursements come in. And so
Yeah,
that's the primary use of the funds.
I mean, I spent many years living in New York and Queens, so I do know a bit about the South Bronx and the challenges there. But could you please share more about like the community they serve, and who lives in the housing communities that you serve?
Yeah, so our community demographic is primarily Black and Hispanic, low. The poverty level here, while there have been improvements overall in the city, the Bronx is still underperforming as far as income gains, housing, displacement pressures, right? So the community is not as advanced as we would like to see it compared to the city as overall. So we are low income families who are struggling with housing security, struggling with a lot of kind of making day-to-day ends meet. Our housing stock is really directed towards meeting the housing needs of the low income to very low income families, and in some cases kind of moderate. But mostly our portfolio is very low income, very low to low income families transitioning out of homeless shelters into permanent housing is our primary focus, and also the social service kind of safety net services that we offer those families are to support with that transition. But the Bronx is still an underperforming on a number of quality of life indexes, socioeconomic for sure, and the work that we're doing is really trying to kind of create conditions that empower community to be a part of planning processes, decision-making processes, and we do that through base building and organizing and advocacy. But as a affordable housing developer, we also see to it that the housing stock that we create and build in the community is meeting the needs of our most vulnerable.
I love that. And so you guys are doing so many things, so it feels like your network has to be very large of partnerships. Do you work with, who do you partner with? Who helps you meet these needs? And are you working with other nonprofits as well?
Sure. Well, none of this work can be done solely by one organization. I think we lean into the strength of coalitions and coalition building, especially since we don't do a lot of specific projects, right? Not projects, services. So we have partners in the finance sector. We have partners in the nonprofit coalition space, so that when we advocate, we're advocating on a city level, a state level, a federal level. We make sure that our voices are heard at all those tiers. We have partnerships with our local academic institutions, our hospitals. We have partnerships with our local schools. And certainly our most important stakeholder, which are our residents. And so they're also a part of this community, this coalition building community. So 30 plus years is a long time to build those connections, built on trust, built on dependability, right? Like we want to make sure that the networks that we forge are kind of in alignment with mission and vision, and support the goals, right, of uplifting the community.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have been around for a very long time, which is clearly it's needed, and you guys are doing some pretty amazing work. Now let me look into the little. Okay, we have one question here. So much of affordable housing services and assistance are embedded in policy at the state and national levels. Is there a need to shift priorities at the local level, and does this increase your dependence on fundraising?
So the fact that the affordable housing is contingent on a formula, right? The AMI, which is the Area Median Index, is a formula of affordability that our city kind of includes the 5 boroughs, Upper Westchester, parts of Long Island, and that median range will always kind of keep affordability out of reach for a lot of our underserved residents. And so we advocate around how do we look at AMI through, a reform lens? How are we in front of our congressional leadership to make sure that that's a priority? Because there's only but so much you can build, right? There's only going to be so much land. If you're building all these units, but the affordability are going to quite meet the most needy, then we're never quite going to get to that point of providing that access, and then also the stability in place. So the advocacy is really looking at the formulas of which we base affordability. And so that's where we kind of really focus on. There's a lot of the work that we do too around like just housing stability. Are we able to support families with staying and remaining in place? So eviction prevention. How are we supporting families with getting access to other banking opportunities, right? To help increase their own kind of generational wealth on a family level. So working with banks or not even banks, but really community CDFIs and credit unions, right, which are definitely more kind of principled and in more connection with community in that way. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I believe
Okay.
so. Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much for that. I was
The
just looking through.
the city level is also pushing back on how do we ensure, like, so I think about like our housing advocacy, and part of it is really looking at community ownership. And so how do we bring more of that community control and have it be more reflective of who we are and our needs, as opposed to it kind of coming into our communities? That's always been a legacy of ours with the community, with the Melrose Urban Renewal Plan. So how do we use that experience? How do we use that precedence to continue to guide us into the future, to let communities know that it has been done and we did it? But with the changing political landscape and the changing kind of priorities, how do we continue to make that a priority for our community?
Yeah, and how do you engage with the younger community, the younger kids? Do they desire it more, with like environmental justice and all that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this has been an exciting kind of evolution of Nos Quedamos. Over the years, we had never really had a youth contingent up until the last, I would say, 7 years, where I really have been intentional about including our youth in the aspects of our organization across the organizational departments, not just kind of having a youth cadre that solely focuses on environmental justice, but how are we really supporting their leadership, their development, and their experience working with a community development corp. It's been very exciting because, our main target have been the youth that live in our buildings or within our community. And they are so receptive and open to the learning potential that comes with working at a nonprofit organization, or in our case, a community development corp that is involved in all these areas of economic empowerment, housing stability, environmental justice, social justice advocacy, because they are dealing with these issues as well as any other adult, right? And so to have the opportunity for their voices to be heard, for their contribution to decision-making has also been an empowering opportunity for me to experience that we're creating for them. And so we're just coming off the heels of a youth symposium that the youth led this past weekend.
Oh, wow.
Focused on like what are the key community issues that they've been experiencing, and how do they want to include the other voices of kind of intergenerational partnerships, right? That this is a youth focus area, these are youth concerns, but we know we need to work through this in partnership with community. We're not doing this in isolation. In order to see the change, we have to work with our elected officials, our agencies, right? So how do we bridge that so that they can hear directly from them, but also, know that this is a collective effort to make the change, because we could stay on the ground in the trenches, but in order to see the long-term change, we really need to kind of step it up and look at it from that lens of policy change. And so getting the learning potential, getting their leadership development there so that they can become those advocates is really a priority for us and an exciting part of our growth as an organization.
Yeah, no, that's incredible, because it's you want that next level of leadership to come in, right? And to continue what you guys have been doing for so many years. That is absolutely incredible. So
that's right. Can I just make another note that the work that our organization has been able to achieve with the Urban Renewal Plan is nationally, internationally known. But what I realized, because of the development process, because of the new housing that came in, because of the opportunity for new families to come in, the connection to them as new members of the community has not been clear that we were responsible for that change, that transformation. And so using and working with the youth to be able to say, listen, this is what community power achieved. And this is what we can continue to do together, that we're not reinventing the wheel, that what will happen with transformation can continue to happen as we face, kind of challenges. Unfortunately, our community in a lot of ways is still where we were 30 years ago, and that's what the systemic changes that we want to see moving forward. But nevertheless, is really kind of getting them in to say, listen, we did this and we want to continue to support your civic engagement. We want to continue to support the community's awareness that we did it. And we can continue to do it and not look for someone else to come in to try to help, kind of parachute and save the day. That we have the answer.
It makes complete sense. Let me just see if there's anything else. I don't see any other questions, but Vivian, did you have any other questions that you wanted to ask? I think she may pop in if so.
Hey, Vivian.
Oh, you're mute.
Thank you. So good to see you, Jessica, and thanks for all the wealth of information. I always admire hearing from nonprofit leaders in education, affordable housing. You just look at the angle with appropriate solutions. So that was great information. I think I do see one question, maybe it's touched on, but if there's more to add. Someone asked about the affordable housing services and assistance embedded in the policy at state and national levels. In light of whether it's elections or just recent changes, do you anticipate any changes in your area?
We anticipate changes because it's the unknown, right? We don't know exactly how those changes are going to take into account, but the work has to continue, regardless of what president is in administration, regardless of what, right? We don't have the luxury to shift and pivot based on who's there, right? The needs are critical and have been critical, and we have to continue to hold on to that and say why this is important and why this needs to continue to be fought for. Will it be harder? Probably, right? But we've had some tough times as a community and as an organization that we had to face, and so I think this is kind of a part of the experience, unfortunately, right? I mean, we've had some benefits in this last administration with the Inflation Reduction Act and how that supported some of the environmental justice funding. We're praying that does not, either get frozen or so forth. But look, the housing work, all of this work has to continue. And so we have to just find more ways to do more with less, unfortunately. But unfortunately, that's always been the circumstance, right, for our communities. And so I would love to have that change, and so that we're not so beholden on that, and that our communities can really thrive. But we need sustainable support. We need support that doesn't always have to come with interest rates, right? Like we need support that doesn't have to cost us to get the support. Right. And that's the challenge, that you get investments, but when you have these gaps in funding to have to apply for loans to put the burden on us now to cover interest rates, that that's tough. That's so tough because that's added money to a cash flow, to a budget that should already.
Is that? Oh, I think maybe just
driven, doing the work on the ground. Help us do the work more and more.
Great. I think that's
the connection.
A little bit of the connection, but I think, I couldn't have said that more. Over the years, we've had the privilege of working with nonprofits, and you've captured the essence of the challenges. Is already on the ground work for nonprofits is so hard, and a lot more burden is actually put on you. No matter who is in the seat, whether it's a president or local officials, the work still needs to go on. There are still always going to be a vulnerable population that's going to be left behind. So thank you so much for doing all the great work over the years, and we look forward to continuing to support you. All right.
Yes, thank you so much, Jessica.
Opportunity. I appreciate it. Take care.
Hi, Steve. If anybody had any other questions with the last presentation, we will answer those via email or in the chat. So we are now moving on to part 3 of the presentation, and it's my pleasure to introduce the Global Brigades team who are here with us today. Steve Atamian is the Chief Empowerment Officer. We have Luis Quan, project director in Honduras. And then James Mary O'Connor is the master planner lead architect. Global Brigades is headquartered in Fresno, California. They began operating in 2008 to empower under-resourced communities abroad with health and economic development programs. They're seeking funding for pre-development costs associated with the new affordable housing in southern Honduras. Welcome, Global Brigades. Steve, I will start with you. Please tell us about yourself and Global Brigades.
Hi, thank you, Atamian. Yes, Global Brigades has been around for the last 20 years, mostly working to support livelihood programs throughout rural Central America, a little bit in West Africa as well. We actually started in Honduras 20 years ago and had been working in the rural communities out there ever since. About 10 years ago, we acquired a piece of land that has grown in value and grown strategic importance into the country of Honduras in the south, where it's in between two growing cities and where there's a really tremendous lack of housing options and affordable housing for working class people. And so whereas we've really targeted and worked with very vulnerable populations over the last 20 years in very remote areas, this is our first time we've been able to create a housing project at this scale, and we were just so fortunate to have James Mary O'Connor to come and join our team to help develop that out and design what we really believe will be a transformative project for the region and for affordable housing in general, based on the models and the experience that he's been able to bring in, and to something that we can replicate throughout Honduras and throughout the regions and the countries that we work with and throughout Central America to address the shortage of housing. So if I can share my screen, I'll let James. James is going to discuss the project itself and walk through it a little bit, and then Luis is going to talk about the innovations that we've had and we're developing around the financing mechanisms that we're doing to make the project, and then I'll talk a little bit about just the overall finances of the project and where the funds from the donation will go. So, James, you want to take it from
Sure.
here?
And this is a kind of extraordinary site in southern Honduras near San Lorenzo, and it's a kind of piece of land between the ocean and the mountains, and just an incredibly kind of bucolic landscape. You can just see here the bay of San Lorenzo and the port and the sort of mangroves in the distance. So it's quite an amazing kind of place. And one of the first things we did was actually not only survey the site, but also there are substantial landscape on the site, mature trees. So we actually, something that hasn't been done so much down there was to measure every tree. And the idea is to keep as much of the natural landscape as possible. The site slopes, the first 2/3 of the site are buildable. The last third is mountainous and it's kind of a hilltop, and it slopes, the first part slopes about 10 meters up and the next goes up almost 100 meters. The idea here is to create not only housing, but a real sense of place for everybody, a sense of the outdoor space and all those kind of things that make a rich kind of life for residents, a town square, a place to gather. And in these cultures in Central America, the outdoor space is as important as the house itself. And you can just see in the rendering here how it sort of steps up. The first house we're building, a very simple house, but it has kind of grand ideas. The roof, to have a sense that the house is bigger. The house is about 550 square meters to 60 square meters, which is about 500 square feet, 600. But the roof itself, we want to have it feel bigger. And in this kind of region, people often sit outside when it's raining or when it's too hot, and create an outdoor space. We also would like to capture the water and use the water to kind of clean the water and be part of the kind of the use of the project. Here's a little the floor plan. And with small things, I think what's interesting is to give a sense that they're not small, they're actually much bigger. So the living space is a kind of grand living space, kitchen, dining, living. It has outdoor washing, pila. It has an outdoor terrace and an outdoor social space. And then behind that is the very efficient kind of master bedroom, child's bedrooms, and bathroom. And we also are exploring different ways to make the house feel bigger and have more opportunity. One of the models we're looking at here is that we're building the house anyway. The roof actually could be part of the environment. And this particular model, same 50 square meters, the roof, there's a stairs to take you to the upper roof, a little canopy above the roof. So that's a kind of outdoor space. And in time, the residents can enclose it. That could be, a granny's flat or another bedroom. It's an opportunity, and it's not a huge cost to renovate that. Another version is 1 story, but kind of nest inside with the living, kitchen, dining on the lower floor and the master bedroom on the upper floor. Same size of house. So kind of tiny houses. We're also looking at a different kind of model in the main public spaces called the work-live, where the ground floor is one big open space, and that is a work area, and that could be for car repairs, beauty salon, hairdressing. It could be for a cafe or a market, and above that is a living space, and on the top of that is a space that can be enclosed, an outdoor garden or shutters. It can be kind of enclosed, and we have a series of those. We're also looking at the top of the project to help fund it, a series of smaller villas, and that they could be purchased and maybe given back to Global Brigades, or students coming for classes could occupy them. So they're up higher, sort of midway up the site itself. And then I think there's some street views. These are the street views. And we're also organizing different kinds of streets. There is a tradition that started in Honduras and Central America of shared streets, what we call in the States complete streets, so that the pedestrian has priority, and it's more of a social space. And in some places, cars are slowed down, traffic is slowed down, and but you could park there and organize your space. Anyway, it's a brief introduction.
I love everything that you guys have been doing, and all the pictures that showing of the houses. They're gorgeous, and the land itself is absolutely beautiful. I mean, I would love to purchase a home that looks like this, right? They look beautiful. So I'm curious, what is your unique approach to making these homes affordable to the people of Honduras?
That's great. Luis?
Yeah, thank you very much. So here in Honduras, we have, hello from Honduras first. Here in Honduras, we have a deficit in homes of around 1.5 million homes are needed to fulfill all of the needs of the families in Honduras. The biggest barrier for a family to get a hold or to own a home is to get access to financing for them. So, and to get access to financing, there are two big components that are stopping the people that are doing minimum wage or are low-income families to get a loan to pay for a house. One is to get access to a piece of land, because land within the cities are very expensive and there are not many chances to get even a finance on the lot. And number two, do not having any credit history with the financial system. So our approach is to work with these low-income families. I mean, a young couple starting a family, both of them doing minimum wage in the factories of the south of Honduras. So we will give access to the lots of land with innovation in financing for that specific, and it's zero down payment and $77 monthly payment for them to get access to the land. And as they keep paying that and working with us, we will have the opportunity to create their credit history, because we can report all of those payments directly to the financial institution. So at that point, we will be tackling both of the major issues that low-income families has to get access to a financing opportunity for their homes. So we will first work with them to give them access to the land, and then at the same time, simultaneously, we will be creating their credit history. On top of that, we are creating a community that in Honduras, it's very hard to see this type of development. So in Honduras, when anybody wants to do a development project for social housing, they just create a cookie cutter scheme. They build as many houses as possible in the land. They take advantage of every square inch of the land, and they do not think on the well-being of the family that will be living there. So we are bringing a new approach in terms of design. So just the community that's being built, because we're thinking not just building a ton of houses, is that we're building a community with amenities and with options that will make the living in the community a pleasure for whoever is gonna live there. So that's how we are going to do this. And the idea at the end is after doing this project, we can replicate it in different parts of the country. So far, we are requesting the financing from Lendonate right now to do the pre-development work, because the idea is give them access to a piece of land that should be developed before the financial system through banks and cooperatives kick in to finance the constructions of the houses. So before the families go to the bank, we will need to have the land developed with giving them access to basic infrastructure of power, water, sewerage, streets, and all of the other social areas that we're going to provide to them.
Amazing. We do have one question in here. It kind of goes into this. It just says, is this your first housing project that you're undertaking at scale? It is such a beautiful design with eco-conscious community concept in mind. Thank you for doing this. So is this the first housing project you're undertaking at scale?
Yeah, so we've done large-scale water system projects. We've also built schools and other larger infrastructure projects. We've done a lot of in-home infrastructure, public health infrastructure, like bathrooms, water and bathrooms, latrines, those types of things. This is the first time that we've done homes. And so which is really great to have had James come on board. We also have some other builders that we've identified in the south in Honduras that are going to be helping us with that. To mitigate some of the risks of the project, we're contracting out a lot of all of the constructional piece of the homes themselves and working through third parties that will be using James's designs to take out some of that. But yes, we're using the civil engineers that we have on our staff, along with some of the local contractors to create the infrastructure. And again, just trying to mitigate some of the risks of us realizing that we haven't done this before, leveraging as much experience as we can on the ground with local Hondurans, with James' oversight and Luis's vast experience working in the region.
And I've built.
No, go ahead, James.
Okay to speak. Oh, I was just going to say briefly. I've spent it's probably 40 years of my life building housing. Maybe I've built 20,000 units in maybe 16 different countries, and for different mixed income. This is particularly a different kind of project, but I have a lot of development experience that I am so happy to be part of this project.
I mean, collectively, you guys do have tons of experience in the area, so it's just such an impressive project. Can you just please share a little bit more about how the loan will be repaid?
Sure. The loan will be repaid through the monthly payments that I can share the budget here. Wait, can you see my screen, or no? Did it not go through?
No, not yet.
So the monthly payment is going to be the revenue is projected from the current sales. We forgot to mention that we already sold 167 of the lots. We actually stopped the sales because they sold in the first 2 weeks. So we still have a bunch more to sell, but we wanted to reconfigure some of the master plan and finalize the master plan and provide everything before doing that. And so the revenue is coming from the sale of the lots, the sale of some of the villas for investors and donors, the revenue from the live work spaces, utilities that we're going to be charging for, and then a margin on construction that we hope to have. And these are the expenses. You can see the large amount of the money that we're trying to raise goes towards clearing the land, building the sewer, bringing the water system, rather, electrical grid, and what have you. And so you can kind of see from a cash flow perspective what we're projecting out over the next 5 years. And so after the next couple of years, we're expecting to be carry a nice surplus that we'll be able to repay back debts, but then also reinvest back into the project and even hopefully expand it into new areas.
Great, thank you for that. Marco, I see that you have your hand up. Would you like to ask a question live?
Yes, it was in part answered. It looks like my name is Marco Evangelisti, by the way, and the pictures look at a very bucolic rural area. I was wondering how you get the sewage processed, whether it's linked to the sewage system of a municipality close by, or you have everything on site to process it, and how you get the electricity connection, and how far that location is from an urban center, so that people living there, can access more services and shops and so on.
Yeah, thank you, Marco, for the question. In terms of sewer and other utilities, I mean, for sewer, we'll need to build an in-house solution. It will be a water treatment plant that needs to be designed and built to serve the houses there. That's going to be approved by the government, the functionality, and making sure that the waste it's being treated properly. In terms of power electricity, we have the main power lines that are passing through in front of our project. So it's just a matter of getting the permit to connect there and create our own grid inside the project. So, and the third one will be the property is located at 1.5 miles going east from the city of San Lorenzo. It is where the port of the Pacific in Honduras is located. So we are very close by that main urban center that is San Lorenzo.
And about 30 minutes from one of the largest cities in the South, Choluteca?
25
minutes. And the road is on the, forgot to mention this. It's on the Pan-Pacific Highway. So the property is right off of the main highway for access to electrical and whatnot.
Well, I'm very looking forward to seeing the project continue because it looks absolutely incredible. And also just how much you're paying attention to the environment. I think that's super impressive as well, besides even just the community aspect. So we look forward to seeing these popping up across Honduras and potentially the rest of Central and South America. You never know, right? But is there anything else, like final words that you would like to share with anybody, with the investors? Okay, great. Well, it looks like I think all the questions are answered, but thank you guys so much for your time and your insights and everything about your project. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
It was an honor. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think we have a few minutes left. I think Vivian may come on to have some closing remarks here. Vivian.
Thank you, Sarah. That was wonderful. Thank you for facilitating such rich conversations with all of our nonprofit partners. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your time. Before you go, just a couple of important information. You probably have questions, and thank you for all those who have already submitted questions that we were able to answer. If you still have some more questions you want to ask us, there are a few ways to get more information. One, register as a lender if you haven't already. Once you log in, each of these loans are listed with additional details. For example, you will see the financials of the organization in there. Sometimes if the loan structure, if there are more nuanced things we want to describe to investors, there may be an attachment of a write-up. Once you log in, you'll be able to see that. So that's one way, log in and check out the information. Additionally, of course, you can reach out to us all the time. I think someone's going to put my email address in the chat. Please grab it, email me. Or I think actually we can also put my scheduling link. Sometimes when it's fresh on your mind, just go use the scheduling link, grab a few minutes with me. I can pull a team member with me to answer some additional questions for investors. And then let me see if I missed anything else. I think that's the main thing. Oh, everyone will receive the recorded information for you to review anything if you want to. As a reminder, LendDonate is the lender. Our role is to introduce you to the nonprofits. We are the true lender to them. We help work with them, and during the loan repayment period, help facilitate their repayments, of course. So if there are any other additional investor-related questions, loan structures, can they prepay, anything else, those are questions that come to us, and we are happy to answer them. So again, thank you for spending the wonderful hour with us and hearing from our borrowers. I know we're approaching Thanksgiving, so everyone have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and don't forget to support the local nonprofits that you love with your continued donation. But when it comes to LendDonate, we would love to expand, help you go beyond donations and invest in them as well. All right, thank you so much.